What's up? It's Ian from Powerhouse Miniatures, back again with a second painting tutorial video I'm doing. This is about working with red. So I'm going to show a quick wet blending technique that I use for just any colour really, but I'm going to do a series of how I work with red, how I work with some of the blues, one on yellow, one on green, one on black, one on white, etc. For most of the major colours. And again, I'm obviously not the best in the world, but this is some of the tips, some of the tricks, and some of the recipes that I've that I use over the last couple of years that I've that I've practiced. So if you want to join in, I'll have a list of all the paints on the screen. I use a various one. I'm going to do probably a different video on a different set of each range of the paints, but these are the ones that I use, mostly Games Workshop, and one Vallejo Game Air. So I use P3, Vallejo Model Air, Vallejo Game Air, just all the Vallejo ones, and then the Citadel ones. And recently Citadel Air, which is really good because you can match the colours. So left to right, Cantor Blue, we got Evil Sun Scarlet, Mephiston Red, Vallejo Game Air Scarlet Red, and then some Lamian Medium. I'm using Winsor & Newton Series 7 brush, which is a 0. It's a little bit old at the minute, so it's like the tip's just starting to go. It's like kind of keeping it at the minute, but once you start painting, it's starting to fray just a little bit. So brush soap, or if you don't want to spend any money on brush soap, a really good tip is to use dog shampoo, or just, I suppose any shampoo will work just to get the stuff in. But it's hair, so at the same time, if you want to clean it, use the same products you use to clean your own hair. And I think some of the, I'm not sure what it was, I'm sure I read somewhere that some of the ingredients in a normal shampoo would damage the brush or something, so dog shampoo is like less of them, or something like that. Check that out yourself. The model I'm using is a Chaos Dwarf Demon Swith from Forge World. It's sort of like, I've got 1 or 2 base coats on it, but I'm using it for the top of the head, just there, because it's primed and everything, but it's also it's circular and sort of flat, so we also see some of the blending techniques that I use on there. I'm using a Perspex sheet as well, so I'll be able to use that as like a palette at the same time, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm going to start, when the model stands like so, what's important to really remember is where you're going to photograph the model from. So I think that is probably the angle, or like there, maybe from there or something, so you can see the arm, a good section of the face, the axe, the head, stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is, if it is from there, I'm going to blend dark to light, like across there or something like that. Do you know what I mean? From, hopefully you can see where there's a bit of water on the brush, just from left to right or something like that. So it's going to be like dark, light, coming in from, if holding the brush just from above, I'm going to be holding at this sort of angle, so you can make a flat line like so, like that. And again, brush angle, really important. Same as with the airbrush, the direction with which you hold the brush, really important for the overall effect. So I'm going to start off with the darkest one, I suppose you start off with the mid-tone. It's going to be the Scarlet Red, and then I'm going to shade with Cantor Blue in a second. But first, I'm just going to shake up the pot, and I'm going to put a little bit down, a tiny little drop. The slightly annoying thing about these droppers is that you get either a tiny little bit, or sometimes it rushes and you get too much. So I'm going to mix it with a little bit of Lamian Medium. Like so. If you put them separately like so, hopefully you can see that on the, I suppose you can't actually on the thing, but if you just gradually introduce them together like that, so hopefully just like that, you'll have almost pure medium, a mix of red and medium, and then the pure red on the left. So that when you're working on the palette, you can either take, you can create the mix yourself just on the brush, and then usually, I don't know whether it's a no-no, but I paint on my hand as like a little palette, see where the tip's gone. So like I said, I'm going to go on the right hand side, probably 45 degrees, pointing, northeast if you want, from the miniature. So bit of a thick layer first, and then basically the idea is, I'm going to put quite a thick layer down, clean the brush off so it's only water, and then sort of fade in. I'm bad for brush licking, but you could obviously just do it with a piece of toilet roll or a kitchen towel or something. I've got some kitchen towel here, just going to fold it up into a little thing. because there you go, just like that. So I think that's probably like the civilized thing to do as opposed to putting a brush in your mouth. So anyway, these got a brush thing in. I'm going to get like quite a thick amount, again mixed with Lamian medium, any medium would do. Going to paint in the top right hand side like that. And clean the brush off, and then with nothing, just go into the black area and fade it in like that. And then wash the brush off, and then reapply a slightly thicker amount of the red into the area you want going to be the brightest colour, that's there. And hopefully you can see now I'm working with the wet paint, like a wet blending thing, really quick on the model. You work towards where you want the most paint to be, so again, wash the brush, another application of the slightly thicker paint, put it right in the corner like that, and then we're going to work it in. So wash the brush. You're going to do that 2 or 3 times, so I know roughly that the paint's going to be there, and then obviously you can, if there's anywhere that's like sort of rough or whatever, you can work over it over time. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'll cut back to me in just a second when everything's ready. Right, so that's dry now. We've got nice dry thing. With the lights that I'm using, I think it's getting a bit glaring a little bit, both of you can see. So it's very thin. That's one of the nice things about the medium. It goes on. It's easy to work with, but then it dries sort of translucent, so you can just see the beginnings of a blend. Bottom left to top right. So you can do this as many times as you want. I think if you carry on just mixing the one colour, you get a really smooth blend that looks really good. And that seems to be the style for like really high level stuff. Do a load of layers of the paint and get it as smooth as possible. That seems to be a popular style, even though I'm not. I mean, I don't know. People seem to obsess a little bit about it, and I'm not particularly fussed. So for this one, for example, I'm probably going to do 2 or 3 different layers of the thing and just show. I'm not going for the smoothest blend possible, obviously, and I will do a separate thing on smooth blending. This is just to show off the colours of reds that I use. So I've still got a bit of the Scarlet Red from Vallejo Game Air just there. So I'm going to work it in a little again. Same technique, bit of the paint. I'm going to put it on exactly where you need it, like there, in the top right hand side, to about the middle. Wash the brush off, and then with just water on the brush, sort of fade the edge in like that. Again, that takes no time at all. When it dries, it looks great, and again, you can keep working it however you want. After a bit, you'll pick up intuitively, I think, what works, what looks good, and the technique, like the brush angles and stuff. So it's just there. One more layer in the middle. I generally work in these in a line, if you know what I mean. Like I'm making the same brush stroke every time, and then sort of feathering in this little line here where you can see where the paint stops and starts. So just there. So again, I'm going to pause when that dry, but already 2 layers, 5 minutes in, you can see got a really nice smooth blend from black all the way to red, like to thick red. And then of course within the concentric boundaries of this sphere, going to paint in smaller and smaller amounts, lighter and lighter colours, so you get like a spectrum, if you want, of the different colours. In between the layers, I'm using a hairbrush as well, so that takes a few minutes. Do be really careful with with a hairbrush. I'm northern, so I don't pronounce H's, but a hairbrush will melt the model. So like sometimes on a forge wheel model, you'd use a hairbrush to reset badly cast parts or warped parts, like this one here. It's like the sword is just wonky. So like a few people do it with water, and I have done that as well. But I found the easiest way with this, like a wonky sword like so, just a hairbrush and reset, and then dip that in cold water for a few seconds, and then it's fine. You can do that a few times, but like I said, a few seconds and it'll melt, it'll wobble, and then if you do make a mess of it, that's gone. I think the easier, safer method probably is warm and cold water, but like I said, the hairbrush does it too. So I use the hairbrush to dry the layers, and this is, it's pretty much already there. In fact, yeah, that'll be fine. I'm just going to carry on. So some of the mediums, Lamian medium, and a few of the Vallejo mediums. So there's a metal medium, which is really good, and a few of the glaze mediums, which are really cool. But there's a retarding medium, and a few like that will slow the drying time, I believe, for the purposes of wet blending like this, so you've got a better time to work with the blends and everything, so it dries a bit dries a bit better. So you can see that already, you know, it's a nice smooth blend. So if you wanted to do this 2 or 3 more times and really fade in the lines where you've made the striation patterns with the brush, if you really want to like fade those in, you can get a really smooth blend between black and white, and it's really, really pleasing. And again, use them straight out of the pot so that you've got, when you go back, you know exactly which ones you've used, and that's what I'd call a recipe if you want. Or, you know, 50-50, 50% Evil Sun Scarlet, 50% Mephiston Red, so they're easily replicatable. Get yourself a little notebook, because they're amazing for that. You put down all your recipes and stuff. So there it is. So the next colour is going to be Mephiston Red. It's one of my favourite colours from Games Workshop. Really, really good colour. Really like it's rich, and with it being one of the base paints, it's a really high pigment count, so it's got a good coverage as well in less than 1 coat. So exactly the same thing again. Just going to shake it up. Not using the best brush. Like I said, the tip's going just a little bit. You see, just fraying just a little bit. It's kind of annoying, but no problem with this sort of thing. And I'm not edge highlighting, so a little bit of that there. So I like to put them next to each other so you can see, you know, the transition of colours. And obviously, if you're mixing the colours and you're just mixing white or black straight into the colour to, you know, lighten or darken it, having them next to each other, you can copy. Or if like you're trying to, if you mix a red there on the left and you're trying to mix it with the right, obviously just have them next to each other, and then you'll be able to tell or like copy it with the eye. And then over time, you'll build up like an intuition with it. So same thing again. I'm going to go in, start off further into the corner like so, like that, and then I'm going to leave like less space here before I start the wet blending in, like that. So it just sort of fades in, and then while it's still wet, another bit of the red, reapply the red just on the right to strengthen that off. And again, using the same brush stroke every time. Brush, oops, sorry, I just nudged the camera. Brush direction, brush stroke's really important. So yeah, and then just going to feather again, or blend, or whatever you want to call it. To blend that in there, just into the side. So again, these lights I've noticed sort of glare just a little bit. So when the thing's wet, you're getting a glare. But hopefully from there, you can see already we're 10 minutes in. You've got 3 layers, 2 different colours, and Lamian medium obviously, and already got a really pleasing blend between black and white, and that's what people want. So like I said, I'm not going for this right now, but if you are, you can spend a lot of time feathering in the line between the layers and where it starts and stops, and that's what wet blending's for, obviously, and that's one of the major advantages. But if you stick to a really subtle transition, like the transition between these colours, for example, is very marginal. It's like it's just a bit darker, probably more of a brown colour on the right, and a bit more of a rich red from the Mephiston Red from Citadel. But you can really see that, you know, the 2 layers like that, you can just see it now where it's dried. Very visually pleasing blend between black and red. So that's almost dry, and I'm going to go 1 more layer of Mephiston Red. And I'm going to try and get ready. See, there's a line just there in the centre where I've come across. So I'm going to try and like fade that out, sort of thing, or put a layer that bridges between the darker and lighter transitions where there's a line to feather those together, if you know what I mean. So same thing again. Mephiston Red in the corner. You can do this. I do water down these paints, but you can do it really thick. And if you get really good, people can sort of judge it immediately and be able to wet blend it really fast. So yeah, like there where the line was, and then gradually join in and back with the Mephiston Red, like so. And I'm going to reapply again, second layer. I'm going to reapply the red into the corner where I want it, and then feather it back out like that. So there you go. Already, when that dries, really nice blend, black straight to white. So you've got a few options to shade the red. If you're into your colour theory or your light theory or whatever, get a book called Figurepedia. One of the best things you'll ever read in your entire life. It'll completely change your painting. Figurepedia by Fig One. Unbelievable. Really, it was, I wouldn't say I plateaued or anything like that, but there was definitely like 10 different things that I picked up that I could employ in my painting straight away, straight from beginner all the way through to the most advanced sort of technique. So read that, and then a few of the Games Workshop books are really good, like How to Paint Space Marines, or the Heavy Metal Masterclass book by Games Workshop, similarly fantastic, because they do little like how-tos and all the rest of it, like invaluable for a painter. So you've got two options. If you're into your colour theory stuff, then fine. You can find a million things on the colour wheel online and light theories and all the rest of it. But basically for red, you shade with dark brown or blue. I really like blue. I use purple sometimes as well, which is this one. I use heavy violet from Vallejo Extra Opaque. Vallejo Game Extra Opaque. I don't know which one that is. Yeah, heavy violet. That, Cantor Blue, or Mornfang Brown by Games Workshop. So I use a few of those, but today I'm going to use Cantor Blue. You can use a combination, obviously, if you go purple first and then blue. But of course, I want this to be like a kind of a quick, like, you know, a relatively fast technique. So it's dried again. I'm going to get the Cantor Blue, going to shake that out. A little bit just there. So yeah, got a nice blue. So in the opposite corner where we had black, obviously I'm going to do the blue, so it's going to be there. So, all parallel. So wash the brush off, fade in with the blur, the plain water. Another layer of blue. Back where I had it, just there, and then water again. Like that. Like I said, after doing it a little bit, you'll be able to intuitively sort of work the colours or know what you want to do at the same time. I'll just get rid of this bit here. That's it. Right. And sometimes it looks kind of gaudy before you before it dries off, and then when it dries off, it looks really cool. So the next one I'm going to do is Evil Sun Scarlet while it's drying, and this is a thing as well for speed painting. The speed painting technique for you would be use a do efficient things at the time. So while that's drying, work on another area of the model. If you're working on just a single model, you know, next step for me now would be like do the base coats on everything else. So like while that's drying, do something else. But you can see if you don't use too much medium, it dries very fast with the plain water, which is really good. And that's what you want. And obviously, if you don't do that, you can almost literally see it dry, which is kind of cool. Just about receding as it goes along, which is weird. But you can see the effect sort of like while it's wet looks kind of strong, and sometimes the blue and purple can look kind of off. But then when it dries, it really fades in. And obviously, again, I've been using the paint straight out of the pot, so it's at its thickest. Which, although has some benefits, also means that sometimes, you know, if you were doing a higher level effect or a display quality or a competition model or something, you would do exactly the same thing, but like 10 times. You just do thinner layers to a point where, you know, the first one or two are almost translucent, and then work it in from there. But for this, it's a balance between speed and quality, so that's pretty much dry already. So the next one, Evil Sun Scarlet, which is the highest one, and then you can do an edge highlight if you want of Wild Rider Red. So just going to show you some. So exactly the same. Going to leave an even smaller portion just there with the red. Imagine concentric shapes or concentric circles, you know, slightly smaller but in the same thing every time. So almost pure paint in the right. Going to do it there, like so. Then brush off and then feather in like that. So you can see the thick paint kind of like bleeds into the water on the surface, which is, as I understand it at least, that's the sort of the heart of wet blending. So again, wash the brush off, another application while it's wet, so you can really thicken it off like that. And then I'm just to this where the line, you can see where the wet paint is, just there. I'm gonna fade that back off again with just water. So hopefully I should get rid of some of the line that it'll leave when it dries. So that's it. So you can see just there's obviously while it's wet, got a really smooth transition between dark blue, Cantor blue. We've got like a dark, almost black, fading from the blue, then into scarlet red, Mephiston red, Evil Sun Scarlet. So all these layers and all the different colours add a slightly different sort of tonal value, obviously. Different qualities within the varied, the variations of the reds, the slightly different pigments and stuff. So that's one of the benefits of using different pots straight out of the paint straight out of the pot, sorry, that you've got like different, ever so slightly different tonal qualities. Like the Evil Sun Scarlet's richer, but it's also slightly more orange. So yeah, just while that's drying. We've got Wild Rider Red, which is like orange, somewhere between orange and red. And then I'm going to do like a little, I mean that's the full, let's just get this out of the way. This is pretty much the full succession of reds that I'd use. This is my recipe. And again, I'll put that on the screen for you. So you've got Wild Rider Red, Evil Sun Scarlet, Mephiston Red, Scarlet Red, and Cantor Blue in a thing. So you can do that in, like, say, it's been about 10 minutes, isn't it? So Wild Rider Red, I'm going to shake that one up. I'll put a little bit there. Like so. Now, I'm not going to feather that in, I'm just going to do a little edge highlight. And while you are edge highlighting, it's a really good opportunity to do like chips and scratches and stuff, which is what I'm gonna try and do. So just across the edge, I've got a 00 Windsor and Newton Series 7, bit scruffy, but perfect point. Mixed with a little piece of water, and then, for example, I'm just gonna do just around the very edge of the head, just there, like that, with the edge of the brush. So you've got just a little bit, so I'll blend it in like that. So you've got a very crisp edge highlight just across the edge. Looks really, really good. And then if you're going to do chips and scratches, pick a random direction and then go with a brush like you're holding a pen straight down. Go kind of fast. So it's this. Okay, I'm coming in from random directions like that, and maybe one here. Yeah, just on the edges where it's been chipped, where it's been attacked or something. So there it is. Perfect blend between blue and red. Nice little orange edge highlight. Took about 10 minutes. Really, really cool. And that's pretty much it. So that's how I do reds. There's my recipe. There's an example with the models. And like I said, you do the little chips and scratches at the end. You can go as, you don't have to do that, or you can do as many as you want. I'll be back soon with like a blue one, I think. And then, like I say, I'm going to do some of the primary colours and some of the others, green and purple, and my various recipes and everything like that. Anything in particular you want me to do or talk about, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Otherwise, find me on my YouTube, Facebook, eBay, all of that. Facebook.com/Powerhouse Miniatures. Cheers for watching.